All right, all right, all right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Preston Jackson, BCP, Big County Preps, introducing Matt Cooper with Flex. My man Derek Williams with Quick Cuts. Derek, say hello to people. Everybody, say hello to the people.
What's going on?
What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
Hey, let's jump right into it, right off the top of trending topic that's going around. We got 2 games in now, week 2 of the season, and chirps are starting to come out about who the top teams are in Hillsborough County.
Mhm.
Just start talking about some of the ones that you like currently.
Currently, I like Tampa Catholic. Man, they look really, really good this year. Jesuit, they look pretty solid, although they did take a loss this past Friday. Armwood, of course, they look great this year. Um, Tampa Bay Tech, they look pretty good this year. They had a big win, it looks like, and Wharton. Those are the teams right now. I feel like they're getting the most hype. You know, so it's kind of going to see down how it all kind of ends at the end of the season. Who's the better team?
Armwood's traditionally been good. I think they're right now hitting on some cylinders. They got a young quarterback. The offensive line could be really special. They're 2-0, big wins over Venice to start on week 1, and then had a big one against Bloomingdale. Both put up a tremendous amount of points. Uh, is it safe to say that Armwood is probably the best team right now in Hillsborough County?
They're looking good. I mean, they're getting the big wins. They had a big blowout against the Bloomingdale Bulls, 55-0. Um, they to me, yeah, I think that they probably are probably one of the strongest teams. I think it is going to come down to that Jesuit Armwood game, I think, and it's going to really test them. But as far as most of your teams in Hillsborough County, I do think that Armwood probably is the top team.
Now Jesuit 1-1. All right,
Mhm.
they beat Warden soundly 34-20, but then go down and lose to Treasure Coast. And unless this max prep score I'm looking at, this says 67-28. Is that correct? Did that really happen to a Jesuit
Um,
team?
it's
Like I
possible.
gotta
I had
like
actually.
like we gotta research that and find is no way that a Matt Thompson led Jesuit team gave up 67 points.
I'm gonna check that right now, real quick,
I,
while
I,
we're talking.
I'm just gonna double check, man. I'm check score stream because I just looked at Max Preps.
Yeah, score stream. Check that. That's what I was gonna check. So I did have one of the Jesuit players message me late that night. They said, "Flex, don't post us," that told me that they got the loss. But I didn't know how bad it was. But dang,
I'm looking on score stream Flex, and they're saying 66-28.
wow,
That's almost
that's a lot
unheard
of
of.
scoring. That
Like
is, that
Jesuit,
is.
Jesuit usually doesn't give up 66 points in 4 games in the season, let alone 1 game. I gotta watch the film. I'll get the huddle and see what happened, man. But that just sounds
Yeah.
crazy. Now, moving past Jesuit, what is up with this Sumner team?
Oh wow, Sumner. Yeah, they're looking really sharp, man. Well, I've been a big fan of Sumner even last year. I got to go record Greg and saw what a good QB he was. I got to meet Tyler, that really good wide receiver. They also have his last name is Addison. He's got a lot of offers. He's probably a 4 star. So they have a really good team. I actually grew up with two of the coaches, which was pretty cool. So when I went down there, I got to talk to the coaches, and they accepted me right in. Um, they also picked up somebody. His name's Malik Brown out of Armwood. He's a wide receiver. I heard he hurt his shoulder or his arm in a practice, so he hasn't got to actually showcase his talent yet for them. But he's gonna be a sight to see. I already know he was one of my favorite at Armwood, and he transferred. I was kind of, you know, I knew that was a big pickup for Sumner. So they already have 2 big wins. So I think they're gonna keep strolling along.
And not to count out Tampa Bay Tech, who's won a lot of games in recent years. A big win versus Steinbrenner, a
Mhm.
quality win versus Plant in game 1. So, what are your impressions on Tech right now?
Tech, yeah, they look good. They have probably one of the best wide receiver cores. You got um, they have a really good line. I know they actually had a transfer from Armwood. I saw one of his highlights last Friday. He had picked up a fumble and got a touchdown. So Tampa Bay Tech looks pretty good. They had a big win against Steinbrenner, which I did see Steinbrenner. I saw them in their blue white game a few weeks ago, and they look like a pretty solid team. So to beat them that big, was a pretty good win for Tempe Tech. I think they want the city to know that they're not, they might be still young and getting their team together, but they're definitely not out the picture. They're definitely a strong team.
All right, I need you to post some locker room material. We're gonna take Lakeland, Armwood, Tech, Sumner, Jesuit. Those five. Ready? I need you to put them in order.
All right, so I would put Lakeland, Armwood, Jesuit, Tech, Sumner. If I
Okay.
had a,
All right.
yep, there you go.
Now we hit on Armwood a lot. Derek, I'm tapping you in. You're up. You've been cutting film, grinding away.
Yep.
Give us a player that you've seen on film that stood out the first couple weeks of the season.
Well, I mean, when you're talking about Armwood, you always have to look at their offensive line. They've just got such a big offensive line. They start leaning on you, and they've got a running back over there, number 2, that is just lights out. He's as good as really any in the area. He'll be a 20, 30, 40 type of FBS offer type of kid. He's really a special player. But they just have so many kids. They've got they got a young cover corner, number 11, who really does some good things on tape. They have an athlete, number 4. I'm looking at film right now. I'm breaking it down. I'm going to feature that here maybe in a few minutes. But the running back, I got to tell you that the running back is just a special player. And if you guys want to take a look, I can pull up some film on the running back. Have you guys seen?
That's Gerard Pringle. Yep, he's a 2025
yeah,
running back. Yep.
Yeah, give me a
Huge
second
fan.
here. I was putting. Yeah, he is he's something else.
Now Pringle's been cutting it up, man. Why Derek is pulling that film up? He was going to share that film with us. Pringle has been cutting it up. He went for 300 yards against Venice. I just got the final stats from Coach Davis at Armwood. Let me see what he did against Bloomingdale. So probably in maybe a quarter or a half of work because that game got out of hand quickly. Pringle went 8 carries, 119 yards, 3 TDs. But fantastic player. He's at over 400 yards right now on the season, probably scratching 502 games.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I say, their offensive line, they've got such a good offensive line unit. Not only size, but they finish their blocks. And when they start leaning on you and you get this kid right here running down your throat, I mean, it's a tough combination. And, I know in the kickoff classic, they didn't beat Lakeland, but I'm telling you right now, if you watch the game film, I don't pay attention to scores a lot. But when you watch the game film on that, they had a few bad breaks early on. But that was an evenly matched game right there. And if you played that game 10 times, you're going to get 5 wins for each team. But this kid really is just a special talent. We'll look at him right now on film. I put this highlight together over the first few games. Just excellent balance, tough kid, has speed. But this kid's just going to be a fun kid to watch over the next mini games coming up.
I love his footwork in tight spaces, how he gets small with the burst. He's got just like for you young kids out there, when you're looking at running backs, the first thing I look at is his balance, okay? And then his vision. Can he anticipate tacklers? How is he in the open space? Does he make the first guy miss more likely than not? And then can he break contact? So you're looking at all these things from a guy who's probably under 5'10", 180 pounds, rocked up, solid. And then he's running behind dudes who are 6'4" that tackles, 300 pounds across the board. And he's just a special player. I just love his burst, his first step, and his explosion. And he just has that anticipation, that vision, man. And when he gets to the second level, more than likely he's going to the house. If they let him get to the second level, he's going to make a play. He's always looking for the end zone.
You got to look at the teams that they've opened up with. And just a Lakeland Venice right off the bat. And this kid's getting it done. Here he is on a kick return. But he just, and the lineage over at Armwood over the past many decades, this kid is right at near or at the top for running backs, and they've put out some NFL guys in the past. But this kid right here for a high school running back is just a truly special talent, and he's going to be fun to watch. I'm putting together video right now, which I'll show you here in a bit. They bring in that number 4 right here. They bring in number 4 to get some carries too. He's a wide receiver, and he also plays a little running back. And he's a good-looking athlete as well. And he blocks from the wide receiver spot. But we'll feature his video here in a bit. But they really do. They've got a fun group of kids over there just watching them play defense. That cornerback number 11, though, I tell you, whew, I like that kid. 6'2", and he's got long arms, and he just does things on film already as a young cornerback that's going to be fun to watch in the next few years. So, but yeah, I'll pass it back to you, and I'm going to finish cutting up. I'll finish cutting up number 4, and I'll let you know when I got it done.
Yeah, that number 11, Jalen Waters. Yeah, he's young and he's good. He is really good. I got a couple of highlight videos of him as well.
We're going to head south down 75, make a right-hand turn, and we're going to Spoto High School. We're going to bring in the head coach at Spoto High School. This is Coach Keith Chattin, and if you know anything about Keith Chattin, number one, he knows his football. Number 2, he is a firecracker. He is going to bring it all the time. All right, he's one of the best guests that you could have on any podcast. So anybody, the podcasters out there, if you want some good content, you go to Coach Chattin.
What's up? That's an ugly hat you got on, man.
Hey, roll tide.
Come on, man. Where's your homers at? Look in the back of your jersey on the wall, man.
I got plenty of them. Where every show I'll mix it up. Now listen, Coach. We were watching. You told me about a couple of your kids last year. You're like, yo,
right.
I got a couple dudes. We're putting together some things here at Spoto. Watch out for us.
Right.
Derek's been cutting film, and he spotted out the same guys. So I just want you to kind of educate us on some of your big timers you got roaming the hallways over there at Spoto.
Well, I think everybody knows who Jesse is by now. Jesse, he's 6'2", 6'3", 180. He's just electric. He's a playmaker. Everybody laughs when I say this. I think I even told you this. He's going to be better than Deontay if he allows himself to be. The only difference in him and Deontay, Jesse's taller, of course, but Deontay has that quick twitch and then the faster feet than Jesse has. But other than that, Jesse has the ball skills. He attacks the ball. He's great lengthwise. His route running's pretty good. He's got to get a little bit better than that. He's got to crisp that up a little bit. He's got to understand coverage a little bit better, but his hands are outstanding. And when he gets in between the white lines, he really locks in and plays good, solid football. And plus, he's an underrated blocker as well when I put him in tight end and stuff like that. And then Zeke, he was my running back last year. He got banged up a little bit because, I ran him like 200 carries last year. So he's not a big guy. He's 5'8", by 165, 170 at best. He's a 4'4", 4'5" guy. Great grades, but just a great football player in space. He's really hard to deal with in space. So he's kick return, punt return, running back, quarterback, slot, X, whatever I need him to go to. And then now just crashing on the scene. I had him last year for the last 3 games of the season, but Nathan Richardson, my quarterback, he's done some good things. He's averaged about 175 in his 4 starts, but Saturday night, he was 20 of 29 for 354 and 5 touchdowns. And my man just put us on his back and tried his best to bring us back, and almost did. We had a couple drops in the end zone for touchdowns. We missed a wide open guy on the second drive of the game. Jesse ran a seam, and Jesse said the sun was in his eyes, so he couldn't see the ball. But whatever that is. But we should have scored 2 or 3 more touchdowns. But we got a lot of things going on at Spoto, and it's definitely changed in the 18 months I've been here. And people aren't used to seeing this kind of, I guess fireworks is a good word for it, or offense efficiency downfield. But, it's going to be an exciting couple years over here.
Yeah, back in the spring when you sent me that spring game, was that Jesse's first play that he wheeled it up the sideline and went for?
That was the first play of his high school career.
Man. And
yeah, then I'm not trying to be that guy, but like halfway through spring, when I put him at tight end, I said, this is going to be the first play of the spring game.
Yep.
And he's like, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to give you a shot to make a play the first play of the spring game. And hey, he took it 75, 78 yards to the house.
Yeah, Preston, if you feature that video, it's a second play on the highlight, and
right.
Or I could pull it up if you want me to, and you'll see the play. It was a first play that he was on the field, not the first catch,
right.
The first play that kid stepped on the field, and he did
right.
that, and it's like, wow, that's what it's supposed to look like. And then in this past game, he made one of his touchdowns was about a 20-yard pass, and he went up for it and had to twist around a little bit. But he
right.
landed on his feet, and as soon as he landed on his feet, he was off to the races. And his ability to kind of contort in the air and do things. He plays a high spot really well. It really jumps out on film, and it's going to be fun watching him and the quarterback for 2 more years at Spoto High School. It's
Yeah.
going to be fun to see.
Nate, the ball you're talking about, Nate threw it behind him a little bit. He had to adjust to it in air.
Yep.
I think it would have been a walk-in touchdown if Nate would have hit him in stride, but he threw it behind him a little bit. Jesse had to jump up, and he sort of put his arms almost behind his back a little bit to catch it. And then he come down, and then he did the rest. He's so athletic. He makes it look easy, but he works really hard.
Yeah. No, it was a great display of athleticism, I thought, on that one play. I mean, he did stuff like that all game. Playing the high point. He almost had that one catch in the end zone where he kind of came down and just fell right on his back. I thought he may have had it, but yeah, just he does some athletic things in the air, and he's got really good ball skills. And yeah, he's gonna be a fun one to watch, no doubt.
Yeah, he's a high level recruit, no doubt about it.
Yep.
Good. Now, Coach, you've coached in a couple different places. Went across the state line, I believe, if I'm correct.
Right.
And came back. You started at Leonard here, at least for us in the county. What have you seen change? What have you seen change since you were at Leonard, your departure, and now your return back to Hillsborough County? What things have you seen change as far as football, and or the county, and or the state, if you will, with the landscape of high school football?
Well, I came from Georgia. I'm from Georgia, so I coached at like 3 of the dominant programs in Georgia, and plus the one I played at. And then I got my first head job was Leonard, of course. And you know what kind of program that was when I took over. It was almost on death's door pretty much. And then, and I told some people back then, I said, we're going to do some things here. They didn't believe me, of course. But, in 2 years, we took an 0-10 team to 8-2 and had some really good football players down there and really changed the culture of that program. I think that word is overused a little bit, but, and then after I left, I went back home for a year. I just didn't like it. It was Georgia football had changed to me, and the people have changed a little bit. So then I went to West Palm, and that was the biggest mistake in my career. It was almost career suicide because I was told a whole bunch of different things by the admin down there, and nothing ever came to fruition. And then I flirted with Spoto about 3 times. One of them when I was still at Lynn. I think it was 2015 when they made a change. I was talking to them and it wasn't a good fit then, and then another time I just wasn't available, and this time they called. It was almost mutual because I saw her on Football Scoop, and my wife said, "Oh, you're going to call about that, aren't you?" And then when I was calling about it, they were calling me about it. And so it was sort of like mutual, and then I come up and saw them and stuff like that because they've always had athletes. Mm-hmm. That's not been the problem. It's for that they've always had athletes. Even when we played them when I was at Leonard, they always had really fast, athletic people. It was just, can you get linemen in there? And can you keep those kids at Spoto that's supposed to be at Spoto? Because if we look at everybody's roster, all the good teams in Hillsborough County probably had 2 or 3 Spoto kids on their roster. So right. If we can keep those kids here, it's sky's the limit at Spoto.
Right.
So as you're going back to, you talking about the changes of the county, I didn't think I'd ever come back. Because, in Georgia, the money's different. In West Palm, it's not centralized funding. So you get the gate, you get parking, you get concession stands. So it's fundraising. You don't even have to really fundraise down there, and you get, you make a lot of money to do everything you need to. Here, centralized funding, I like it to an extent because you don't have to worry about all that extra stuff. And I like what Lannis does a lot. He really tries to, give us the best stuff, and then everybody's getting turf, everybody's getting the new lights and stuff like that. And, you still have the rotation uniforms and stuff like that. And I think other than Georgia, other than the main programs I've been at or played at, and then around the country, because I was at Gainesville for a year in North Florida, and then I was in West Palm and back to Tampa for my second stint. The football here brings me back because the football is better and the coaching is better than the other parts of the state.
Okay.
And that I want to challenge. I don't want to go in here and beat people 50-0 every single night. I want to, make sure that, what I'm doing is proving that I can build a program. I think we've already proved that at Leonard. I think we're proving it again that we've changed the culture and the perspective or perception of Spoto already. And then everybody knows, like you alluded to when I got on here, I don't mince a lot of words, and I'm very vocal and very bold. And then I believe in what we do and how we do it. And I know we're going to be good. I don't know when, but I know it's going to happen.
Your best Deontay Johnson story, Coach.
Oh, my God. This is like my kid. Everybody that knows me well knows that, right here, I got his jersey over here, his helmet's over here, his gloves over here from Toledo. There's another jersey from his bowl game. Me and him, that's like my son. I don't have any kids of my own, but he's like my kid.
So
But
Deontay graduated. When did Deontay graduate?
15.
All right, so Deontay, for those who don't know, Deontay Johnson came out of Leonard. Derek, you cut his film.
Yes.
Nobody really gravitated towards Deontay Johnson.
Right.
Nobody was gravitating towards Leonard High School at the time. They were one of the newer schools, and nobody was looking down there. If I remember correctly, Deontay's junior year, he went slap off. I think it was his junior year.
Senior year.
It was a senior year.
Yeah.
There was a game he had against Blake in the rain. It was nasty. Had a great game against Blake. Derek sends me film on him. It's like, yo, you gotta take a look at this kid down at Leonard. He fast forward, just giving background. He goes and has a fantastic career at Toledo. He's been a magnificent player for the Pittsburgh Steelers for like the last 6 seasons. 5 seasons. I'm close. Last 5 seasons. So if you don't know about Deontay Johnson, he's a talented kid right here from Hillsborough County, from a very new school at the time at Leonard. So now, Coach, and go. You're on. Best Deontay Johnson story.
When I first got the job at Leonard, he wasn't even on the football team. And so me and one of the assistant principals, Mr. Buford, we were in the cafeteria one day. Cause I spent all my time in the cafeteria trying to see who else is in the hallways and trying to get more kids out. So he knew about him already. So he brought Deontay up to me to meet me. And I guess Deontay thought they were still going to run the wing T at Leonard like they did previous before I got there. And he said, point blank, I'm not playing in that junk. And so I said, man, go ahead and walk on and you have a good day. And then about 5 days later, he comes up to me like, Coach, I want to play quarterback. I'm like, man, you're like 5'8", about 155 pounds. Like, you sure you want to do this? And so he turned his paperwork in, got all that stuff done, and then we were playing East Bay. I think it was either the Classic or the first game of the season back then, and it's 2012. And then my quarterback that was in the game was just having an awful night. So I walked up to Deontay and said, hey, man, can you do this, and this? I just gave him 5 things. Yeah, Coach, I got it. The first pass he threw, the kid dropped in the end zone. And then the second pass he threw, now we're on like the 25-yard line. So the second pass he threw, the same kid dropped in the end zone again. And Deontay come to me like, Coach, I'm never throwing him the ball again. I'm like, Deontay, if he's open, you got to throw it to him. And so the next play, he threw it to a different guy. He drops it. And then so forth and so on. So the first 5 plays of his career were 5 drops. And I told everybody it was the best 5 incomplete passes I've ever seen in my life. But the biggest story is, he was my quarterback that was his sophomore and junior year that he was my quarterback. And then he was not going to college as a quarterback. It just wasn't going to happen. So then, lo and behold, Devin Black walks into the door over the summer of is Deontay's junior year going into his senior year of summer. And I said, all right, Deontay, this kid's supposed to be really good. I never met him before, didn't know him, didn't know anything about him. And then I said, what we're going to do, Deontay, we're going to let Devin play. We were playing St. Pete Catholic in the Classic. So I said, I'm going to let Devin start and then let you start a receiver, and then we'll see how it goes. So Devin was like, I think, 27 of 34 for 510 yards, something like that. And Deontay caught 5 touchdown passes. So I looked at my receivers coach and was like, man, we may have something. So I walked up to Deontay that Saturday when we were watching film. I said, hey, man, I love you. It's your choice. I said, do you want to finish this thing out as a quarterback, or do you want to move to receiver and do what's best for the team and yourself and for your college career? He said, Coach, whatever you want me to do. I had no idea Deontay was going to go completely berserk and get 1,100 yards receiving and 19 touchdowns the senior year. But, it made me look like a genius, but it was all Deontay's choice because I wanted him to finish out his high school career the way he wanted to. But he said, if it makes us better, I'll go play receiver. Hey, now my man is paid.
Yep. He got that. I think it was a 17 on the ACT, and Jason Campbell said, hey, we're bringing him up. And
now, if we have time, the Jason Campbell story, I'll tell you the Jason Candle story.
Yep.
So Coach Campbell was the head coach at the time. Candle was the OC at the time.
Yep.
And so Candle come down here. Then him and Campbell flew down here. And then Jason came back. He said, Keith, I'm not leaving here
Yep.
until Deontay commits to us.
Yep.
Jason stayed the whole entire day at Leonard. And he and I are still friends to this day. I love
Great
that
dude.
dude. He's a great guy.
Great dude. Love.
And
Yep.
so some
Absolutely.
things happened. Some things happened, and Deontay had to finish up 2 quarters. And like you said, Derek, he had to finally get that last couple points on the ACT.
Yep.
But we went to USF to meet Coach Taggart because they wanted him.
Yep.
But then as soon as they told me Deontay was going to gray shirt, I looked at Deontay and said, let's go, man.
Yep.
I said, we're not doing this.
Yep.
And Coach Taggart was like, what's going on? I said, no, this kid is not gray shirt. And I told him, he's better than anything you got right now on your roster.
Yeah.
And everybody thought I was crazy. But I'm going to stick up for my guy. I'm going to stick up for my guys. And like Preston said, I'm pretty vocal. So if I don't like something, I'm going to speak out about it. Yep. But like then I told Jason, like, man, I know it's at the end of the road, but he's yours. And he finally got up there, and then it was the best place for him. I'm glad he went there.
Yep.
Then a big school, even though Toledo's a good program, they win a lot of games, they do a lot of good things, they play on TV 5-6 times a year.
Yep.
I'm glad he went there.
Yep.
To where I know somebody was taking care of him like I would.
Yep.
And then the day he graduated, Coach Kendall called me and said, hey, man, we did it. I said, no, man, that's your 4 years. You did that.
Yep. Good stuff. Yeah, Candle's a great guy. Great guy.
Well, Coach Chat, we appreciate you tapping in. Good luck to Spoto. Who you guys got next?
We got Alonzo Friday night.
That's going to be fun. They got a good quarterback over there, my man.
They do. We got a good one, too.
My man. Everybody, thank you for Coach Chattin. Spoto's got their hands full with Alonzo. However, Alonzo might be one of those trending teams, Matt. But let's see what you think about Wharton and that Plant City game. A lopsided one, but what are your impressions of it? Talk to me.
Man, I was surprised. I actually thought that was one of the better matchups last week. And I guess Wharton got the blowout. Was it 50-3? I mean, Wharton. I am kind of glad to see Wharton come together. I know they lost to Jesuit their first game. Wharton does have a really good squad. They have a really good quarterback. But Plant City, man, I've been following them, and they got their new quarterback, Chris Denson, and their new coach. They've only been really together this year. They look really good. Their 7v7 team looked really good over the summer. Then they looked good in the spring. I believe they won their first game against Newsom. They beat Newsom. It was their first time beating Newsom in, I think, 15 years, it said, or 16 years. So them beating Wharton beating them 50-3 was definitely a surprise to me. What did you think?
Well, I did not think that Plant City would get smacked like they did. That's number one. That's a very prideful area, a very prideful school. Plenty of great players that come through those hallways. I even played against some of the best ones that have come through at Plant City. Wharton has been on the rise about the last 3 or 4 seasons. They haven't been able to get over the Tampa Bay Tech hump yet. They haven't been able to get past that second round of the playoffs yet, but they are a team that's a threat every single season. Jackson Jensen is a very good quarterback over there. They've got talent on the outside. The secondary is developing. The defensive line is what makes them go. That is the motor in that vehicle at Wharton. And if they can get after the quarterback, they're going to put a lot of pressure on offenses. They're going to win a lot of games. Big matchup coming up against Gaither, okay? This is one of those dream games for guys like us who want to see quarterbacks go head-to-head. Gaither sitting at 1-0 overall. Wharton is a 1-1 with their only loss coming to Jesuit in week 1, and then Gaither beat Steinbrenner handily. So what do you see with that matchup?
I love both the quarterbacks. I've been following them, both of those guys.
Jace Nixon versus Jackson Jensen. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And do you know Tariq McCant? He transferred over to Wharton, and he seemed like he had a really big game. I think if those guys can really play hard, I think Wharton could possibly beat Gaither. But I would tell you, for some reason they don't put a lot of the Gaither stats in max preps. So, I was shouting out some of the quarterbacks, man, and a lot of people jumped on there and was like, don't forget Gaither quarterback, and I actually went to the Florida State game with him last year for Florida. So I got to know him and got to talk to him a little bit, like behind all the football scenes, just to meet he's a young guy. He seemed like a really nice kid, got his head on his shoulder. So Gaither, man, I'm excited to see both those games. It's hard to really tell who's going to win. If I had to pick one and put some money on it, I'd probably say the Wharton will probably get the dub. But that's going to be a good one. I'll be there. I'm going to record and make sure I send you guys pictures and videos of the highlights.
Yep, one of the first classes.
Yeah,
All
right.
right. So we've been talking about quarterbacks. We talked about Tampa Tech earlier, and did you guys see Penix Saturday for Washington?
Did he cut it up again?
Dude, 450, 5 touchdowns. I mean, he's definitely going to be a Heisman candidate this year. And to see him come from our little small town of Dade City, where I now reside, it was nice to watch that kid. Played at Tampa Tech, and what he did Saturday, I tell you what, he's going to be drafted in the first 5 picks this coming season. And he had a great opening game. But just talking about the quarterbacks, I tell you another. You talked about some nice matchups. One of the underrated matchups, I don't get to see every game, but I do pour over game film relentlessly. I don't even know what the score is at the end of the game. I don't even know who won. I don't even care. I'm looking at the game film. But I tell you right now, I looked at the Alonzo versus Blake game. Man, you want to talk about a hard-fought game. That was a heck of a matchup, and Blake has played some tough games. I mean, they're a scrappy bunch over there, and they've got some kids. I tell you, keep an eye on Blake this year. I think they're going to have a sneaky good year, and they got some kids. I tell you, Preston, have you seen? They got a kick returner over there, number 5, running back / wide receiver / kick returner. And this kid, man, I'm telling you, I think he's got a return in each game this year, including the spring. Man, he's done some good stuff, and they got a big time cornerback. But,
Blake has been scrappy, man. They have been doing some good stuff since last season. They look really good this summer. Let me pull this young man up from Blake.
How's their new quarterback doing at Blake? Xavier is
doing well. I mean, they're just doing some really impressive stuff on film, and their defense gets after it. They've got one of the best young cornerbacks in the area. Number 2, I don't even know names. I know numbers. Number 2, but then Alonzo, they got the quarterback, and they got a running back over there that's doing some really good stuff on every game this year. Hard-nosed runner. They got some kids at the wide receiver spot. It's such a fun thing to evaluate the game film across the Bay Area. But that, I tell you what, I really enjoyed that Alonzo Blake game. And yeah, go ahead and feature that running back. I mean, he's doing some good stuff on film right there, huh?
Leon Haynes is his name. Leon Haynes is a senior, 5'7", 165 over there at Blake.
Yep. I tell you right now, that type of kid right there, wherever he ends up in college, whatever level, that kid right there is going to be a good player. He's going to have a big year. That kid's going to he'll have 10 to 15 touchdowns this year. He'll probably return 4 or 5 for kicks. Back in the Javier Arenas day, when that kid was returning every kickoff. I tell you, this kid number 2 lined up on that kick, the kick return. Man, the field position that they get is they're going to be a good team to watch this year. I tell you, but he's a player, man.
Speaking of field position, is there a better located stadium than Blake High School? Like right there on the river and stuff. Right there on the river, man. Yep. I know it's tight. It's not great for players, but just the location is awesome, man. So
I get a kick out of many. How many times can you kick a field goal and have the ball go into a parking garage? You know what I'm saying? I remember back 15 years ago, I would go film at Blake, and they had a wide receiver over there, Tito Gonzalez, and he ended up going to West Virginia, but he was one of their real great players, but just quietly went out there and got it done, and it went to West Virginia, had a nice career. But yeah, I've always been a big fan of Blake, and just seeing some of the things they do on film. It's good to see.
So we're gonna do one word. I'll give you the team name. You give me one word that describes that team. Riverview, and we're talking about the Riverview Sharks.
We review it. One word describes that team right now is Schultz.
Sumner.
I'm going to do 3 words. Greg to Tyler.
Is there a better connection than Greg to Tyler right now after? Well, we can go back to last season, but we'll stay within these first 2 games. Is there a better connection in the county with the Greg to Tyler?
I don't think so. I think that they pretty much that
That's
little
hard.
connection. They've been playing together for a while now too, so they can read each other very well.
But the school is Durant.
Durant is their quarterback Ryan. It seems like he's got a little spark in the team, and they've been winning. So we'll see who do they play this week? Let me see.
Hey, Preston, the first kid I ever got an offer was at Durant High School, believe it or not.
Trey Williams. Was it Trey Williams?
Yeah, it was Trey Williams. And you know who his first offer was? Iowa State. Chris Ash was a coach at Iowa State. And back when Iowa State, they weren't winning a ton of games, you know what I'm saying? But Chris would come down here, and he offered Tito Gonzalez. Actually, he was one of Tito's offers as well. But he offered Trey Williams. He called me. He said, Derek, if Trey Williams is 5'10" or taller, I'm going to offer him a scholarship. And that was the first kid I ever got a scholarship.
Durant, when I came out in 2000. My last playing season was 99. I believe Durant was a 96 school when they first erected. I could be wrong, but they were fairly new.
Yes,
and
they were. Yep.
My sophomore season at Hillsborough, we're coming off of a state championship run my freshman year, and we were ranked number 2 in the state. All right. We're ranked number 2 in the state, and this is when there were 6 classes, and we were in the largest class. We were a 6A school, ranked number 2 in the state, so we're the big dogs in the state.
Sure.
And our first game of the season was at Durant. Okay, first game of the season at Durant. We don't know where the heck Durant is. Don't know where it's located. Never heard the name. Any of it. We're going down 60. We're going down Highway 60 East. Make that right on Turkey Creek and head to Durant, and we're looking around like we're on a field trip. Like, where are we?
You were at Durant.
Durant. Needless to say, they had a great fan base. We lost that game 8-7, and we were ranked number 2 in the state, coming off a state finals appearance. And Durant beat us 8-7. They had this big fullback named Sean Garden, who eventually transferred over to Hillsborough and played with us. But that was my one Durant story. Durant, you may not go there very often, but they've always had a quality program, always a really quality program. Okay.
I looked up Durant. They beat Chamberlain 48-6. They beat Middleton last Friday 31-0. They're actually going to be going up against Bloomingdale. So Durant-Bloomingdale, that actually should be a pretty solid matchup.
East Bay, one word. And don't give me 3 words. You got one word to describe East Bay.
South, man. I think of South Hillsborough, and I think that's just about as south as I'm pretty much going. I haven't made it down to Leonard yet. But when I think about going south, I think about East Bay. And,
all right, you're gonna hit Spoto, East Bay, Sumner, then Leonard. They're down
Sumner
there, bro.
and East Bay are kind of on that same Big Bend road. So I actually, speaking of that, last spring, I think, I went to their practice. I went to Sumner, and then I drove over to East Bay. So it was easy to kind of go to both schools. They're pretty close to each other.
And boy, Sumner's got a beautiful campus.
Mm-hmm. They do. Brand new. Beautiful they got like a really cool looking stadium as well with the turf and everything.
All right, you got last one, Sickles.
Brandon Royals and Isaiah Hudson.
Yep.
Man, both of those guys, man, they're going off, man, but they just can't seem to get the W's at the end, man. It seems like I've never seen a team lose as many games but have such high stats and record. I mean, the stats are beyond me. When I look up and I do all this, they're always that Brandon Royal kids. He throws, man. But they just can't win at the end for some reason. Football's tough, so I mean, it's never success is never guaranteed. You could have all the best pieces and just not come up with the win at the end.
I mean, we've got footage on Brandon Royal at Sickles. I mean, he's having a good year this year, doing a lot of good things on film. 2024 quarterback.
Well, today's been good, fellas. Any last remarks before we check out of here?
I think this is going to be a good week for high school football. A lot of teams lost last week, but it gives them an opportunity to kind of bounce back this week. Some good matchups. So excited to see what happens this Friday.
Yeah, I'm just Bay Area coaches, send me over your game film. We'll get it broken down, obviously reaching out. I loaded up, I think we had 100 lower division colleges reached out last week with positions of need. The big time kids, it's fun to focus on those kids and get the first videos done on those guys. But the 24 class is so important. The lower division coaches are starting to dig right now, trying to hone in on their targets. And I'm in touch with these guys. So get me over your game film. Let us get some more video cut up. We'll get the quick cuts posted on our Twitter. And obviously, it'd be good to feature, next week. Let's feature every team in the Bay Area. Whatever we get in, we'll include in this podcast.
All right, everybody. We're out till next week.
All right, guys. Take care.
See you guys.